You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
So Dan had to take the day off because he's dealing with some health stuff. So I'm here, decidedly not Dan. And I was trying to think about what I should do for my cold opening, and I thought I would share with you, the viewers of this show, a personal project I'm working on, which is I'm writing a parody of the song The Ballad of Billy the Kid from Billy Joel about great pie companies. I get stuck because I can't figure out anything that rhymes with Entenmann's. It's a real problem. This is the Dan Wickline Show. What's up, the internet? It's producer Kyle. How's it going? What's up, the internet merch available now on the EXP merch store. Head over to theexplive.com, THEEXPlive.com to pick up our merch. You just got to click on the merch button. I have a guest because, well, no one wanted to hear about me rant, wanted to hear me rant about Ryan Johnson and the appropriate spellings of the name Ryan, or do a deep dive on Wednesday, the day of the week, not the Netflix show. Those were the only two topics I had in my brain, and neither of those were really appropriate. So my good friend and yours, Tom Hutchison of Big Dog Inc., is bailing me out. So for those of you who might not know who Tom is, there he is. Tom is the publisher, the man held responsible, really the whole wheel and the whole cog of Big Dog Inc., and is the biggest Chargers fan I've ever met.
That's all true. All of it is true. Yes.
It's true.
Yes. All of it is
true. So before we get off topic or dive into any one topic, 10 days, you have a Kickstarter.
Yeah. Official as of today. Thank you, Kickstarter. Yes. We got approved today. Yes. January 7th. We are launching our third portion of the 10-year anniversary for our book called Ursa Minor. It is our horror title, Vampires, Werewolves. Our lead character is Naomi. She's the last of the werebears. This is part 3 of our third volume, and it coincides with the 10-year anniversary of the book, which happened last year. So we're very excited. We just got the approval announcement today from Kickstarter, and we're sharing some art around and showing the teasers like we normally do. And now it gets real as we ramp up before our launch day.
So I'm putting the link in the comments.
Beautiful.
For people to go over and click the be notified.
Yes.
When the Kickstarter launches. So Ursa Minor is a werebear.
Correct.
Here is the question that I want to dive into.
Sure.
Can any animal be a were animal, or are there limits, and especially in the Ursa Minor universe?
Yeah. So the answer is yes. In general lore, and there are multiple lores of shape-shifting things, skinwalkers and whatever, but within the general context of the lore of people turning into things, anyone could turn into anything. There are were rats, there are were crows, there are all that kind of stuff. So yes, in the world of Ursa Minor, we have seen a couple of things. We've seen werewolves, we've seen the werebear, of course. There is a new sort of thing that gets introduced in issue 2 that is sort of bat related that we won't do all the spoilers, but there is a thing there. But yes, there are were things in the Ursa Minor universe. That is a possibility, we'll say.
So if you were a were gerbil, would you just be a wearable?
It would be terrible. It's not even were gerbil. You would just be terrible. Like the girl that turns into a gerbil in Sky High. Like, it's just not good unless you have one purpose, is to get through the tiny tube.
JD says, I would like to be bitten by a were billionaire.
That's really
Elon
good.
Musk.
That's so good. That's such a smart, God damn it. That's so good.
You can have it. Write a book about it. I'm giving you permission to take his idea.
I'll figure out how to get the Were Billionaire into the book someday.
Right. So 10 years of Ursa Minor. It doesn't seem like it's been 10 years.
Oh, tell me about it. Listen, I mean, we started celebrating 10 years of everything in 2020, the year that the world decided to shut down on us. But throughout 2020 and 2021, we were celebrating the 10-year anniversary of Penny for Your Soul and Critter, and the company as a whole, Big Dog Inc. in 2020. 2021 is the 10-year anniversary of our Legend of Oz book. 2022, the 10-year anniversary of Ursa Minor. And now as we come into 2023, we're going to be celebrating our 13-year anniversary as a company. And we're going to kind of do some side projects this year. There's nothing to really focus on, so we're kind of getting weird with it. We are doing a hardcover remaster of Penny for Your Soul because it's been out of print for so long. We are bringing back our Goth Day series in May. We're doing a 40-page anthology in July called BD13 with a couple of other writers that are coming on board. Princesses versus Zombies comes back in November. So a lot of variables in 2023, just to kind of have a little fun before we come back into 2024 and get a little more focused on a couple of series again.
So I have a question about Goth Day.
Yeah.
Because thank you to the country of Romania and Netflix and Tim Burton, being goth is cool again.
Right.
In the sense of, well, it's on every television in the country.
Well, yeah, but I'm going to take credit for it because it wasn't until we did Goth Day in 2020.
100%. I'm going to give you credit for it. I am going to give you credit for it. And this is what I was asking is, are you planning to include some of these more widely known goth concepts in your Goth Day plans this year?
Such as what? What's a widely known goth
maybe
concept?
Disembodied hands that do your bidding, or rather
no,
that's square-headed.
That's so 1950s, man. That's so 1950s. We don't play those games. Or 1990s, depending on when you were introduced to it.
I just want someone to draw me as Lurch is all I want.
Well, that's probably very easy.
Yeah, it is.
I would think
like
that's
if I could
easy.
be in the book for Goth Day.
Oh, sure. Okay. All right.
No.
Now I see where you're going.
It's Goth Day is always a high point for me looking at what Big Dog Inc. does, because it does soothe my little blackened soul.
It's a weird thing because it was done just as a lark. It was done just for fun in 2020. It was our 10-year anniversary. We're just goofing around. And basically what happened was everybody does Star Wars Day and everybody does 4th of July and everybody does Friday the 13th and whatever. Like that's just like almost normal now. And anybody that knows me knows that normal doesn't work here. I reject normal at all costs. So I wanted to go and look for a day that we could play with that no one else has touched and that I think would be fun. And as I was just kind of looking around, I stumbled across Goth Day. It's a real thing. World Goth Day is May 22nd every year. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds like it would be crazy fun. And so I just had some people design some of our characters to be goth alternative versions of themselves. There was no story. It was just, let's have some fun with some art. And the first one that we did was Catnip. We turned Critter into Catnip. Critter is our all-American redheaded superhero girl in her blue spandex, and we turned her into this goth alternative black corset, flowing blue cape, boots, and as soon as I saw that and I started to show it to people and the reaction was so huge, I was like, oh man, I think I'm onto something. And then when we actually did the Goth Day and we sold the books and they sold so well, I thought to myself, well, if we do this again, I can't just make covers again. I kind of want to elevate what this is. And so when we did this again in 2021, we actually made a complete story. We built a alternative world for all of these characters to coexist in. And it went over tremendously. And so we did it again this year, 2022. CB Zane came back, did issue 2. We did new characters in their goth versions. It was sort of a princesses versus zombies modification for us, with a princess mermaid. Again, super popular. CB and I have already talked about next year, so we already know what 2023 is. And it's one of those things that just kind of like came about by accident, but clearly touched a nerve, in the artistic community of people that want to draw it, and then the fans that are like, dude, this is really cool. Are you going to do more? And the answer is yeah.
I looked it up. World Goth Day has only existed since 2009. So you may be on the front lines of turning this into like can we get a bank holiday associated with
right,
it?
yes. Everybody gets
Like,
Goth Day off.
Yeah, can we get a vacation day? Like, I don't know, but I appreciate the work that you're doing, because it looks like the Brits started it and then really did nothing with it. So you may be the guy banging the drum.
Well, we'll have to at least make it like something to the effect of wear goth stuff to work day at minimum. Wear your black acid wash jeans to work day.
Right. Break out the Jenkos.
Right.
So something else you have coming next year, or hopefully next year, I believe, is you're doing a couple of books with Dynamite.
Yeah. Well, one for sure.
Yeah. One for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Tell everybody what that book is and how that came about.
Yeah. So in 2021, I was introduced to Nick Barucci over at Dynamite, just through Jesse James. It was just casual chit chat for the Comic Book Shopping Network. And we were talking, I can't remember, we were talking about something about live shows and whatever it was. And when the conversation wound down, I was like, so what's going on with Chaos stuff? And he told me a few things, this Purgatory, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so I basically said, so anytime you need some Bad Kitty, you just let me know. And immediately he was like, well, let's crowdfund it. Like on that conversation, this was not a later conversation. It was, let's crowdfund it. And I was like, oh, okay. Let's do that then. Let's go ahead and make that happen. That was literally the pitch. Hey, if you need some Bad Kitty, let me know. And Nick was like, yeah, let's go. So I kind of jumped onto it, and I told them kind of my thought process of what it should be, how it should work, because they had done Bad Kitty basically had been dormant for almost about 8 years or so, after they did sort of a reboot with her, and then she kind of disappeared and became this background character for crossovers and stuff, but she never really got a spotlight. So I told him, look, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to do this book. I'd like to take her back to basics. I'd like to take her back to her origins, sort of create a story that latches on to the original Chaos concepts while pushing it forward through a new door that we can then build on and create a new environment for Bad Kitty. Whether you want it to connect to anything else in Chaos is up to you. That's obviously, but I can build a road for her to follow. And once we do that, then you guys can decide which left and rights you want it to take as far as connecting. And they said, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, okay, awesome. So I started, going back into the old Bad Kitties and rereading them, and getting my knowledge back up to speed, and started writing the script. And I was like, so who do you want to draw the book? And they were like, well, who do you want to draw the book? And I was like, oh, okay. So I pitched them a couple of guys. One of them that I knew would be able to do it quickly, probably. The other would have to be a little bit down the line, but I didn't know what sort of style they wanted. And they were both very different styles. And so I pitched them both, and they were like, well, we kind of like them both, but who do you like? And I was like, well, CB Zane, I think he and I work together a lot. I think he would understand the aesthetic of what's happening a little bit more. And they were like, cool, go do it. And so I talked to CB, and he was in. And then literally I pitched him, I don't know, 7 or 8 artists for covers, and they approved them all, both Big Dog Ink people and Dynamite people that they had, Joe Linsner, Michael Maria, Shannon Mayer, Bill McKay, Brian Peterson, on and on and on. And so I started writing the script, and of course that was right when I got all sorts of tendonitis and stuff in my elbows, so I couldn't even like hold my arms up like on the keyboard for very long. So writing a script was impossible. And so it took me forever. And so it took a while to finally get it done, but finally we got it done. Art got done, colors got done. It's a beautiful book. I mean, it's an amazing book and it looks fantastic. And they did an Indiegogo with it late last year. I think it was like August, September. And so now in February, we're going to do sort of a second chance campaign on Kickstarter. Because I told them, like, look, this is where the bad girls go to live is Kickstarter. You know, Indiegogo's fine, but the bad girls live on Kickstarter. So we got to take it over there and get it into that audience. And they're like, cool, let's do it. And so we're going to do that. It's going to be basically the same campaign. There is going to be one new cover. So that'll be a Kickstarter sort of exclusive cover. So anybody that got all the stuff on Indiegogo, if you want one more, there'll be one more. If you didn't get in on the Indiegogo, you'll have access to all the stuff that came previously. But all of this is basically going to be print to order. So whatever they did on the Indiegogo, printed and shipped and out. Whatever we do on the Kickstarter, printed and shipped and out. There's not going to be much in the way of extra. Now, obviously, artists will get some comps and stuff, but this is not like a mass-produced to retail stores thing, at least not right now. So all of these covers are going to be basically printed to order. So if there's something you want, dive on it, because when the campaign's over, it's all over. And we want it to do really, really well and be successful so that we can do more Bad Kitty, because I've already pitched them more. I'm like, look, here's where I want it to go down the line. Let's do some more. But we gotta make sure this is successful, that people are interested, and then we can really, do something cool with this character.
You mentioned that Kickstarter is where the bad girls go to live, and there's no more evidence of that in terms of that being true is yourself and Brian Polito,
sure,
and the things you're doing with your characters there. What's it like working with a publisher that has a sort of a name recognition on a different crowdfunder? Like, was that weird for you working on an Indiegogo crowdfunder?
Super weird, because I didn't really know a lot about Indiegogo because I'd never really used it. So there's idiosyncrasies to it. There's some things that are a little bit better than Kickstarter, but then there's some things that don't really work as well as Kickstarter. And from the start, I told them, like, look, all of my fans are Kickstarter people. They understand that system. So getting them to move over is probably not going to be as smooth as if we just said, here it is on Kickstarter. But it did moderately well. I wouldn't say it was a blockbuster, but it did moderately well. I had no expectations because, again, I don't really know the platform. I hadn't used it. I didn't know what to expect. But I do feel that taking it over to Kickstarter is going to put it in front of the eyeballs that really enjoy that particular brand of comics, the bad girls, the art, that sort of thing. There's just more of it on Kickstarter than there is on the Indiegogo platform. So they were very generous. They've been generous with me throughout the entire process, basically letting me produce this book, how I felt it should be produced. So live or die, it's basically on me, because they let me do everything I wanted. And I'm super proud of it. And I hope that when people get the book that they enjoy it, and then we can do some more.
So we're going to take our first break here in a minute, but we've talked about a lot in the first 20 minutes of the show here. So we've got Ursa Minor coming up January. We've got Second Chance on Bad Kitty in February.
Yes.
Is there anything we've forgotten from the first 60 days of January of 2023 that we need to get in the first segment of the show?
No, that's the first 60 days. You're in, you're out, you're good. Then we're into, well, I guess there's still technically one more month for the quarter, but there's more to come. ...
So, all right. So we're going to take our first break here on the Dan Wickline Show. I am technically not Dan Wickline. I am producer Kyle, and that is Tom Hutchison of Big Dog Inc. He will be back with us after the break here on The Experience. Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find a link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula: you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Hello, my name is Julio Anta. I am the writer of Home from Image Comics. You can pick it up anywhere books are sold. It's a 5-issue series, and you're watching me on The Experience.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show with technically not Dan Wickline and Tom Hutchison of Big Dog Inc. I want to give a shout out to Jeff Wedding and Cool Gamer who are in the comments. If you're out there watching, you have questions for Tom, you have questions for me, throw them in the comments. We will definitely get to them. One of the things that you and I both enjoy, and every time we talk about the same topic because it's a constantly changing topic. The NFL.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So tell the fine people about the Big Dog Inc. Fantasy Football League and the nightmarish scenarios that it presents at this time of the year.
Yeah, so it's well, generally speaking, we've had other years where it's less, but generally, it is a full 20-team league on the Yahoo platform. It is for, I remember I used to play these cute little 12-team leagues back in the day. They're so cute. But that's not real football, guys. Real football, if you want to know how real football works, and you want to understand depth, and so on, you got to play with as many teams as possible because it really thins out that talent pool across all those 20 teams. And particularly then when the injuries start to happen and so on, and you got to get on the waiver wires and there's already dudes on other teams. It's really hard. I mean, it's really hard. It is a massive challenge. I missed the playoffs this year by 50 points. I had a 5-game losing streak right in the middle of the season that destroyed me. And I know exactly where those 50 points came from. And unfortunately, Justin Herbert, that's on your shoulders.
I started off winless. I was dead last. And then starting about week 6, I started winning and hadn't lost again until last week. Had this massive win streak. Or I might have lost 1 or 2 games, but I was consistently winning.
Yep.
But every week I was spending multiple hours going, okay, which kicker can I cut and pick up?
Yes.
Which third string wide receiver is actually going to catch a touchdown this week?
Mm-hmm.
It's
fun. I mean, if you like football, it's fun. Because it really is a challenge. It really makes you think about what you're doing. It really makes you think about your draft. Plus, we always throw in screwball point systems. Every year we do it differently, so it's never the same type of system. So that if you don't get used to the way that Tom does it, because next year it's all wrong. and you're going to draft wrong. So, like one year we made it was defense wins championship. So like all defensive points were just like astronomically high. And it was really, really fun. One year we made all first downs worth like 10 points. It was bat crap, but it was super fun, and it changes the dynamic of the game. So we always try and make it interesting and fun. We also run the playoffs all the way to the last game, so that it's not going to happen this year, but if there's a team that doesn't have to play and they decide to bench their guys, oops, that's something else you have to think about.
Right. And I made the terrible, terrible, terrible mistake of missing the draft.
Not good.
Right. So I wound up with Dak Prescott and somebody else as my starters. And Dak is not a terrible starter, but he is in a Tom Hutchison league.
Yeah, but also he got injured.
Right. So now it's my season has relied on Cooper Rush.
Right.
And Andy Dalton until the last few weeks, where I was able to get Jalen Hurts, and then Jalen Hurts goes out. So I have to cut Jalen Hurts and pick up Gardner Minshew, and then Gardner Minshew's back out, but I can't get Jalen Hurts back. So now I've got to go pick up. Like, you have to really follow the game to play. And what's fun about it for me is that it's comic guys. Like Jesse and I talk trash all the time because he's in the league. It's all nerdy people who kind of see this game the same way we do, right? In terms of, let's look at statistics. Let's look at, this other stuff, as opposed to my family league where it's, I picked them because they have the pretty blue uniform.
Right.
So, as we come down to the playoffs of the actual NFL, is there anything that's surprising to you in terms of teams this year? Is there anything that do you have any predictions for people?
I mean, honestly, well, here when the season started, I didn't pick a Super Bowl this year. Because in my mind, it was going to be something that no one expected. Now, I think the Vikings and the Eagles qualify as things that no one expected, and they're two of the top teams in the NFC. So if they make it, that qualifies. That counts for me, even though they look good all year. I think that the NFC is a little more surprising than the AFC. I think people are seeing things also. Or rather missing things within the AFC teams, particularly the last few weeks. The Bills and the Chiefs have been struggling with teams like the Texans and the Jaguars. Even Dallas lost to the Jaguars. Like, a lot of these teams, and even the Vikings, right? They're winning, but man, they are winning on the last play of the game. Now, that's a win. Take the win.
Jefferson's having a season of a lifetime.
Yeah. You got to take the win. I'm not taking the wins away, but I think that a lot of these guys, these teams that have these big win totals, if you look at the games that they're playing, there's a couple of blowouts. There's a couple of we took care of these teams, but there's also a bunch of like, we squeaked by. We managed to win the game, which is good. Again, it's good for them. But I have this sense that the playoffs are going to be chaos in both sides. And listen, I'm a Chargers fan, but I'm also a very realistic Chargers fan. Anybody that knows me knows I don't come in and say that they're the best team in the league and blah, 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 blah. But I'll tell you this, the Chargers were decimated with injuries starting in week 1. With Keenan Allen going out. Week 2, Justin Herbert got crunched, broke rib cartilage. They only lost to the Chiefs by 3 in that game. Week 3, the Jaguars blew us out, but Bosa was then out. He's playing hurt. Throughout the entire season, the Chargers were destroyed, and there's no way that they should have been in playoff contention at all, period. And suddenly they have 2 games left to play, and they're in charge. They're going to probably take that 6 or 7 seed, or sorry, the 5 or 6 seed.
So
that is the team that no one wants to see right now, and that's the cliche thing, but that's the reality. No one wants to see the Chargers right now, and here's the weird part: not because of Justin Herbert and the offense, but because the defense in the last month has been the number 1 defense in the league for the last 4 weeks. That's the part that changed. So even if the Chargers kind of struggle a little offensively, the defense has stepped up in such a way that they've allowed, what was it, something like 34 points in the last 4 games. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so that, as a Charger fan, makes me super excited to get into the playoffs and actually see if we can make a run against some of these teams that are good. No one's taking it away, but they're clearly beatable if you play the time management properly, et cetera, et cetera.
So because of the part of the country where we exist, I have to ask, do the Lions make the playoffs?
No.
Oh, thank God.
No.
I wasn't going to be able to deal with it
Well,
if they did.
I will say this. Here's the one caveat to that. Carson Wentz is now playing for the Washington Commanders again. And that means that team's going to lose a couple of games. Because without Taylor Heineke, that team doesn't win. So within that construct, maybe the Lions can wiggle in because Carson Wentz is probably going to tank it again. But that's what it's going to be required is Washington to flop to lose that spot. So I would still guess no, though.
So I always love talking about football, but one of the other things that we often have similar opinions on is film.
Sure.
And when we don't, we're often very opposite in terms of argument. So
sure.
Everybody, it's the end of the year, everybody's doing their top 5, top whatever, their favorite thing. Just one of each. Favorite, least favorite movies, TV shows of the year.
Best movie of the year was Top Gun. Like not even close. That was, and partially because it shouldn't have been that good. Like Top Gun 2 is good. Like, how is that possible?
Right.
That's an impossibility. They made a fantastic movie. It was organic to the original. It ran in the steps of the original while still making it fresh, modern jets and so on. Top Gun was fantastic. Loved every minute of it. And I saw it a couple times. It held up the second time, which surprised me. But it was fantastic nostalgia. The instant the lights go dark and you hear the dong, I'm like, oh my God, I'm 12 years old again. And I'm immediately into this movie. So immediately Top Gun is at the top. The worst movie, God, I tend to just let those slip right out of my brain because they're just bad. I can't even remember anything that came out this year.
Doctor Strange.
I saw a lot of stuff. Was that this year? I thought that was last year.
Yeah, that was this year.
That was this year. I didn't like it. I wouldn't say that's the worst movie, but I didn't really like it. It was not great. But certainly not the worst. There's far worse movies. I mean, Black Adam is worse than that. And I didn't hate Black Adam either, but there's nothing really there to make me go watch it again, which is, I think, why it did so poorly, because people came out of it going, yeah, it's all right. But they're not going back to see it again because they saw what they needed to see and they were like, that's okay. We're done. Get it out of here. So
ironically, Black Adam is in my top 3.
Yeah. Again, I don't hate it. Don't hate it.
Well, it's in my top 3 superhero films of all time.
Oh my God.
Well, and here's why. Are you ready?
What?
Here's why.
Yeah.
I didn't have to care. I could just watch an action movie with The Rock and characters that I appreciated. And Dr. Fate was fantastic. And you know what? That's a lot better than me having to watch characters I care about do things I hate.
Sure. And that makes sense. Except here's the thing for me is that everything that The Rock showed me, everything that Black Adam showed me, I'd seen before.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I land with a lot of these superhero movies. It's like we've done these so well for so long that there's no escalation anymore. So everything that Black Adam had in it, if this was if Black Adam came out in 2000, it would have been a gigantic. It would have been like, what the hell am I looking at? Holy cow, this is amazing. But now in 2022, it's kind of like I've seen superheroes punch planes, and I've seen Doctor Strange do things, and I've seen this and I've seen that. So while it worked, like there's a lot of people that are like, this story doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, dude, you need to watch this movie again because clearly you were on your phone or something. Like the story is simple, basic, easy. But it is all just the same stuff. I did like the and I don't know what her name was, but I liked the Twister girl.
Yeah.
And she had the Wizard of Oz get up. She was fully Wizard of Oz out in her outfit. I thought that was a very smart design. I don't know if that came from the comics or not, but at least from the movie standpoint, the design for her was really smart. I was like, that's really good. And I did like Dr. Fate. I did like the dude. Who's the dude? James Bond.
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. He brought a little air of
sophistication.
Yeah, like he's not one of these kids running around in a suit,
Right.
So it was fine. It was fine, but it wouldn't rank anywhere near even a top 10 for me in all time superheroes.
Didn't like Everything Everywhere All at Once to All the People All the Time.
I don't even see it.
Yeah.
I don't even see it.
No, I will say this. I Black Adam for me is one of those movies. It's in my top 3 in the same way that the Lady Ghostbusters is in my top 10 action movies.
No.
Here's why. Watch that movie after taking an edible.
No. Oh, but that everything changes in that regard.
Right. Like
everything changes.
Right. No, it's one of those is that if you want a movie where you're turning your brain off, you're watching a movie, you don't need to think about it, you don't care about anything, it's great. So,
well, I think anytime you come in not caring about, like I remember going into and I think that was part of it. Like I went into Black Adam with no expectations. Like I was prepared to hate it. And I didn't hate it. So I was like, okay. I mean, basically it's just Terminator 2. It's all it is. It's the kid teaching the guy how to be quote unquote normal, whatever, right? This is how you do it, man. Like it was just Terminator 2 with superpowers instead of a robot. So again, it's just like I've seen it before. I've been here for all of these tropes. So I'm really looking for the next step in these movies. And I think the next step isn't going to happen, honestly, until Marvel decides to move to the Midnight Suns and we get Ghost Rider and Blade and, all of those guys. That's the next step. But I don't know that they're really prepared for that. I mean, they even pushed Blade like way back now because whatever it is that they were doing turned out to be terrible. And they were like, stop.
Start over. Right.
Let's do over because this is our doorway to Ghost Rider and everything else. So that's the thing. It's like I'm waiting for that next step for these superhero movies, and I'm curious and I have no faith that James Gunn is going to bring me that next step, but I think that he will have at least the thought process that all of these characters are different rather than Zack Snyder saying everybody's dark. Like, I think that's the wrong way.
Right.
Snyder just took us the wrong way. And I think that Gunn can take us out of that dark and find individual personalities and such for these characters while still building this connective world. I'm not a big Gunn fan, but I think that he at least understands enough about these strange characters. I mean, Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy tell you that he understands how to kind of take these bizarre things and kind of put them together. And if he can put together the right writers and directors for these, whatever it is that they're going to do, hopefully we'll get something that makes a little bit of sense and cohesive nature.
Maybe it's got something to do with people named Snyder. Zack Snyder, Dan Snyder ruined football, but that's our last conversation. Anyway, yeah, I still haven't seen Morbius. I didn't like any Marvel movie except for Wakanda Forever, Jay.
See, Morbius is basically Black Adam. It's not bad, but it's not really good.
Right. I don't count that as a movie though, like because it's a special, it's a short.
Morbius? No, that's a movie. Or
not Morbius. What's the one I'm thinking of? Werewolf by Night.
Oh, Werewolf by Night. Yeah, sure.
So
that's a little different.
Yeah, a little different.
It was fair, but it was a little different.
Yeah. So, is there something you're looking forward to seeing in the new year?
Nope.
No.
No, I'm really not. I don't even know what next year is. Like this year, I was really ready for a lot of things. Jurassic Park and all these things that had been pushed came out. I don't even know what next year is. I have no idea what next year is for movies.
We're getting a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, so that's the only date I have on my calendar.
but who cares? I mean, don't those always suck?
Yeah, but like the way you felt about Top Gun, I feel about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, but those are two good movies. There aren't many good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. I mean, every time they make these things, they basically flop.
Right. But again,
Or were you a fan of the Bay Turtles?
I was a fan. I've been a fan of every Turtles except the Bay Turtles.
Okay.
And again, it's one of those it's totally nostalgia. It's got nothing to do with any actual measurable rubric, right? It's, oh my God, somebody make me Kevin Eastman movies.
Yeah, no, I understand. Trust me, the nostalgia is thick, man.
Right.
Nostalgia is thick, and if you do it right, oh, dude, you're gonna tap in. It's like me. It's like they release a Godzilla movie, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, I'll tell you that there are bad ones, but I'm gonna watch it.
Right.
There's there was something that was, I just totally lost my train of thought. But yeah, nostalgia stuff is going to draw people in. The trick is it going to be good to the point where you're like, I want to see that again? Because there's too many things that use the nostalgia as like, that's its only value is the nostalgia. Like, hey, do you remember when we did? Like, yeah, I remember, but who cares? Give me something else to add on to my nostalgia. Otherwise, this doesn't work anymore.
Right, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, I felt like did a good job of that, but that was 2021.
Yeah, it was fair.
It did a good job of adding on to the existing nostalgia.
Overall, yes.
Yeah.
Overall, yes. Yeah.
All right. Before we hit our next break, I wanted to ask about one more thing, which is the Tom Hutchison Big Dog Inc. live sale experience in terms of CBSN.
Yeah.
And doing that. You have been doing live shows at odd hours for as long as anybody I've known. Right? It's what have you found has made that fun for you? What have you found that's made it successful? Tell everybody what you do when you do it, and then kind of talk about that process.
Yeah, this will be our third year now, wrapping up on Comic Book Shopping Network, and we've been doing our show at 10 Eastern time for most of that time. We've fluctuated a little bit, but most of the time it's been 10 Eastern. I don't know that there was really necessarily like a choice, like, hey, I want to be on at this time. It just kind of was there, and I took it. And I think one of the tricks to live sales and live anything is just consistency. And so we just kind of stayed there and did it again. And people got used to us being there. And so they knew, hey, it's Wednesday. Tom's going to be on Comic Book Shopping Network. Hey, it's Sunday now. Tom's doing another show. It's Sunday. Tom's doing another show, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And so that's the trick, I think, is consistency. A lot of people do something and then they don't do it again for a couple of months. And people are like, okay, well, I got other things to do. So if Tom's not going to do something, then, then I got other things to do. So the more consistent you can be with your sales or just your live show of whatever kind it's going to be, that's going to help you drive traffic because people know that you're there, or at least expect that you're there. And so for us, it's been, for me, I was always selling Big Dog Ink books on Wednesdays. And then I grew that into doing a just general comic book sale on Sundays, because it's, I love comics, and I thought it would be fun to just buy some big collections from people, and I love sorting and seeing what's there. And I love the history of it. So I would, put together these shows from these collections that I bought, and I would talk comics with people. I mean, that was half the fun. It's like, oh my God, here's, whatever this is. Hey, remember when Gen 13 debuted and Deathmate Black or whatever it was, so it's just kind of, you get the sale, right? But you're also just getting the interaction of talking about the product. It's not just like, here's a book, buy. It's just, you got to build a community around what you're doing. And a lot of the people that followed me are kind of new into comics. So when I get to kind of tell them my experience coming up with comics, basically since I was a kid in the 70s, and I'm giving them sort of the run, hey, John Byrne on X-Men, Rick Leonardi on X-Men, Jim Lee on X-Men, like they're getting sort of a little bit of history lesson from me as we go through a lot of this stuff, which they apparently seem to like. I'm glad. And so that's half the fun for me is doing those shows. And then on Wednesday nights, I get to just be like, this is the stuff that I do. Big Dog Inc. Come get the good stuff on Wednesday night.
Right. So you've been doing it a long time, and having that interaction is super fun. But have you seen it equate into more backers for Kickstarters, or have you been able to make that kind of leap?
Yeah, there's definitely people that have found me on CBSN that have translated to general buyers, whether it's from the website or Kickstarter or whatever. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Because one of the things that I enjoyed is, and we did it more during the pandemic when everyone was at home all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll just get on live, and I'm packing a Kickstarter. Come hang out.
Yeah.
Or I'm bagging and boarding books. Come hang out.
Right.
And it's 2 a.m. and Tom's working and I'm working, and it's, well, let's talk about whatever terrible movie we just watched.
That's right.
Or and I think that community is really an important thing. Like that's kind of how we got to become friends, is through this online community thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate you saying that and kind of giving people that insight.
Yeah, that's what it is. If you can build an online community where people can come and just, it doesn't even matter if they're talking to you. Oftentimes they get in the chat room with you, and they're just talking to each other. They're like, "Hey, Shawnee, hey, Matt, hey, what's going on? Oh, my car died. Oh no, it's snow and whatever." They're just talking to each other while I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing. And that's the community part. That's where they all kind of know each other. And it's all just kind of, fun and games. And then every now and then you're like, "Hey, don't forget to buy a book."
Right. Speaking of buying a book, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys that after this show, Jenna, who's in the comments heckling Tom's headphones, and by heckling, I mean threatening to steal them, is going to be live from Space Cadets Collection in Houston, Texas, doing the live sale, What's in the Box? Which is a movie that is way better than we give it credit for. So stay tuned for What's in the Box with Jen and Jenna and everybody from Space Cadets immediately after this. And then after that, the Space Cadets show with 2 T's, 2 E's, a couple of D's. I'm not sure how you spell it, but it's Jenna, Bean, and Alfie from Miss Jen's store talking about pop culture and talking about the stuff that they're going through this week. So make sure you tune in for that at 8:00 Eastern after the she made a comment, and now I've lost my train of thought, after What's in the Box. So we'll be right back after these messages here on The Experience. Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join The Experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did.
I'm Al Simpson. I do a comic called Vampires in New Jersey, and you're watching me on The Experience.
What's up, the internet? Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. I am technically not Dan Wickline. I'm producer Kyle, and that is Tom Hutchison of Big Dog Inc., who has been my guest today. So, before we circle back around and kind of recover everything that's coming after the first of the year for Big Dog Inc. and Tom, I want to ask you about something else that Big Dog Inc. has been doing since before any other real publisher I knew was doing it, which is Patreon.
Oh, okay, sure.
Are you still doing the Patreon, and what is the Patreon, and what do people get from it?
Yeah, we've been doing it for like 3 years now, 3 years. It's basically the way that we do it, and everybody does it a little bit differently. But the way that we do it is, everybody that's there gets to sort of watch everything cook. As we get in line work, we post it. As we get in the inks, we post it. As we put in the colors, we post it. As we do character designs, we post it. We talk about the things that are coming through the next year, and they get all of the advance notice of it. It's basically for the people that like the process of comics. Talking about like, hey, this is the story that's going to be coming. So on and so on and so on. So that's the basic. That's the stuff that we post. That's what people get to see and read. The bonuses to it are there's 2 levels. There's a $5 level and there's a $10 level. $5 level gets you all the posts. You get to see everything that happens. The $10 level gets you a little more interactive elements. So the $10 level folks have voted on names for some of our new characters. They get to choose. I give them, hey, here's 4 names. You guys pick what this character is going to be named. They've gotten to do that a few times. They also get every 6 months, which is now coming up for January. Every 6 months, those Patreon folks get a free variant cover just automatically. It's just like, here, thanks for being part of Patreon for 6 months. Here's your free book. And they also get free, bonus offers as well. So there will actually be books that are available to them that are only available to them. And that is it. So you're talking about books that end up being, 20, 30 copies, because we have 31 people right now on Patreon. And if they all were to buy one, that's 30 copies. That's monumentally low print runs. But these guys all get them for free in some cases if you're there for 6 months, or as part of our bonus offers. We also have a web comic there called Blue Jay, which went on hiatus for a while because one of the artists that was doing it came on to do Legend of Oz for us, so he had to take some time off of doing Blue Jay too. But we have a web comic that is exclusive to Patreon, which is our superhero social media star named Blue Jay, and that'll be coming back next year as well, and that'll be at the $5 level. So if you come in at $5, you're going to get the free Blue Jay web comic as well.
So I like the fact that you let people vote on stuff, but then don't let them vote to call your character like Hottie McBoobyface or something.
No. They get
what happens when you let people vote on the internet.
That's right. And the other thing that happened is the last time we did it, I had to name a new vampire, and I was like, here's the names for the vampire. You guys choose one, and it ended up being a tie across all 4 of them. So I was like, thanks, guys. That's super helpful.
You need one more person on there.
Right. I need one more. And so I ended up just taking all 4 and using all 4 names across vampires in the Ursa Minor universe. But they all thought that was pretty funny. And I have a feeling that they rigged it that way. They probably just got together and said, hey, let's throw Tom a curveball.
Nice. So we talked about it in the first part of the show. So if you missed that, go back and watch it. But in January, in 10 days from today, you're launching the Ursa Minor Kickstarter for the 3rd volume of Part 3.
Correct.
The 10th anniversary of Ursa Minor.
Yep. But if you missed the 3 issues or anything prior, you'll be able to catch up. We have that stuff available. So don't feel like you're just like, well, I can't get it because I missed the other ones. So if you just want to come in for like the last 3 issues, very easy to get.
Nice. And that starts the 7th of January.
January 7th.
Cool. On Kickstarter. The link is in the comments already. I will throw it back up there for you to go and click the get notified button.
Yeah, and we just posted that today. There's already 20 followers, so that's great.
Nice. That is fantastic. That's a lot of the good thing about a Kickstarter with having this now notify me on launch button, right? Is so there's at least 20 other people.
Mm-hmm.
So you're that much closer to being funded, which means you're that much closer to stretch goals, which means you're that much closer to the bonuses you want, which like you can start building around that number, right? I go to Kickstarter. The higher that number is, the better I feel when I click notify me, because now I know that I'm going to get my book.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've never, we've funded everything that we've done. So, it's not really even a question anymore that we're going to get it done. It doesn't mean that there's still not those nerves, but a lot of that now comes from like, hey, can we beat last time's record? Can we fund this in an hour and then start unlocking stretch goals, or is it going to drag for 2 or 3 hours or a day or whatever? Like that's kind of the weird stuff that gets in your head. Like, oh man,
right. You're battling with yourself.
Correct. Yeah. It's like, I have no question that we're going to fund this book. We're going to get it in your hands. But like, we live in the world of like this game show world of, oh, we did it in 22 minutes and 37 seconds. And, we broke a record, all that kind of stuff, which kind of is meaningless, but it's still part of the culture of how all of this works. So that's the stress. It's like, how can I get this so that we have a really good starting opening period and make it exciting for everybody on that first day? Like when we did Princesses versus Zombies in November, we did like $12,000 in a day. We unlocked 4 stretch goals in a day. Like it was like, boom, let's go. And that's what we love to see. So hopefully everybody that's watching will get involved and come in and make day one a big kaboom and get us off to a good start.
Nice. And then we'll have you back when the Kickstarter launches for Bad Kitty.
Yeah.
For sure, because Nick will remind me, and you will remind me, and everybody will remind me. And I'm excited for Bad Kitty. So we'll definitely have that. Where can people follow you? Where can they support your work? Where can they go to, as I say, give you money to make stuff?
Yeah. So, I live on Facebook. Everybody knows I live on Facebook. You can look up myself. You can look up Big Dog Inc. You'll find me on Facebook. We are on Twitter and Instagram. That's BDI Comics. The Patreon is just patreon.com/Big Dog Inc. What else? We do have a TikTok. There's really no stuff there, but we will be doing stuff in the new year as we kind of figure out how to do TikTok. So if you do a TikTok thing, you can look us up there. It's also BDI Comics. And yeah, there we go.
All right, Tom, thank you for coming on and talking to me today and kind of bailing me out as I fill in for Dan. It's always a good time to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you at conventions this year. We do a few conventions together every year, so that'll be fun. Stay tuned, everybody, for What's in the Box with Jenna and Alfie and the whole gang at Space Cadets. And we will see everybody next week back here on the Dan Wickline Show. Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.